At 5 a.m., the shopping cart rattles under fluorescent lights, one while shaking like it knows something is wrong. The retail giant store smells like floor wax and sweat. A crowd surges toward a discounted TV, voices rising, shoulders pressing, hands grabbing at cardboard like dignity has a price tag. And there you are, a father with your kid beside you. The dangerous moment is not when strangers start fighting. The dangerous moment is when your own hand tightens around the cart handle and some old, ugly part of you whispers, "Hit back, prove something, don't look weak." But what does strength mean when your child is watching? This is where samurai discipline begins, not in silence, not in comfort, but in the eye of the storm, when chaos invites you to become part of it, and you choose command instead. The first thing he notices is not the TV. It is the sound. The store has just opened, and the sound comes in layers, sneakers squeaking against polished tile, carts clacking against metal rails, the sharp scrape of a pallet jack somewhere near electronics, a store employee trying to speak into a radio and getting swallowed by the crowd. The fluorescent lights make everything look a little sick. Too bright. Too early. Too exposed. The smell of floor wax is still fresh, but it is already losing the fight against sweat. His kid is beside him, small hands wrapped around the front bar of the shopping cart, looking at the crowd with the wide, confused silence children get when adults stop acting like adults. And the father feels something in his chest shift. Not fear exactly. Not yet. More like pressure. Like a hand closing around the inside of his ribs. Then the shouting starts near the stack of discounted TVs. One man says he had his hand on the box first. Another says that does not matter. A woman yells for somebody to back up. Someone bumps the father's cart from behind, hard enough to make the front wheel jump sideways. The cart shakes, the kid flinches, and the father turns. That is the moment. Not the sale. Not the crowd. Not the TV. The moment is the half second after being disrespected. Because most people do not lose command when life is calm. They lose it when they feel small in front of someone else. They lose it when a stranger's shoulder hits their shoulder and their mind turns it into a challenge. They lose it when their child sees them get pushed, and the father inside them mistakes protection for aggression. His hand tightens around the cart handle. The knuckles go pale. A sentence rises in him before he chooses it. "You want to try that again?" It is not wisdom. It is not protection. It is the shadow wearing a father's jacket. Throwing a punch for a discount. Turning a cheap television into a test of manhood. Letting a retail aisle at 5 a.m. become a battlefield because the crowd has infected the nervous system and the ego wants a stage. This is how social chaos works. It does not ask for permission. It spreads through sound, speed, facial expressions, body contact, scarcity, and the primitive suspicion that if you do not grab now, shout now, push now, someone else will take what belongs to you. A crowd can make ordinary people borrow emotions that were not theirs 5 minutes ago. One person rushes, and 10 people rush. One person raises his voice, and 20 voices rise to meet it. One person forgets himself, and suddenly the whole all feels licensed to forget. The father is not immune to that. No disciplined person is immune. His jaw locks. His breathing gets shorter. His eyes narrow toward the man who hit the cart, and for a second, he is no longer fully seeing the store. He is seeing insult. He is seeing disrespect. He is seeing a story that his anger is writing for him in real time. He tells himself it is about his kid. But the body knows the difference. Protection feels clear. Ego feels hot. Protection looks for space, safety, the next right action. Ego looks for an opponent. Protection lowers the child's risk. Ego raises it, then calls that courage. And this is where the father stands, not as a hero, not as a villain, but as a man in the exact place where character is tested. Between the cart handle and the impulse. Between the kid's eyes and the stranger's shoulder. Between the smell of floor wax and sweat, and the old human desire to answer force with force. The store around him keeps moving like a machine with no driver. A cardboard display tips near the main aisle. Someone laughs too loudly, the kind of laugh that comes from nerves more than humor. A manager in a blue vest tries to separate two customers without touching either one. The discounted TV box slides sideways across the tile as two people pull at opposite ends. No one in that all looks peaceful. No one looks proud. They look captured. That is the outside scene. The inside scene is quieter and more dangerous. Inside the father, the mind starts making arguments. Just one shove. Just one hard word. Just enough to make him back off. Just enough so your kid knows you are not weak. This is the voice that ruins men in ordinary places. Not because they are evil, but because they confuse command with domination. They think being calm means surrendering. They think walking away means losing. They think restraint is something soft people use when they are too afraid to act. But Fudoshin is not softness. Fudoshin is a movable mind under pressure. Not a dead mind. Not a numb mind. A commanded mind. The father can feel anger. He can feel heat rise in his face. He can feel the insult. He can feel the animal part of him preparing a response. Samurai discipline does not ask him to pretend those things are not there. It asks a harder thing. Put them under command. The crowd is moving outward. His task is to move inward. Not inward into fantasy. Not inward into some peaceful image far away from the store. Inward into the next inch of control. His hand on the shopping cart. His feet on the tile. His child beside him. The stranger behind him. The exit path to the left. The employee near electronics. The fact that no discount in that building is worth teaching his kid that anger gets to drive the family. That is the lens. In social chaos, the disciplined person does not try to control the whole room. He controls the distance between impulse and action. He controls where his eyes go. He controls the first word out of his mouth. He controls whether his body becomes one more wave in the crowd, or a quiet center his child can stand near. Now compare two fathers. One father turns fast. His chest comes forward. His voice rises above the aisle. He points. He steps away from the cart, leaving the child behind him in a storm of moving bodies. He says something he will later call standing up for himself, but what he is really doing is handing command to the same chaos he claims to oppose. Maybe people back up. Maybe they do not. Either way, his kid learns the lesson. When the world gets ugly, become uglier first. The other father feels the same heat. That matters. He is not calmer because he has no anger. He is calmer because he does not obey it. He pulls the shopping cart one step closer to his body. Not dramatically. Just enough to put himself between his child and the aisle. He lowers his voice instead of raising it. He looks at the stranger, but he does not stare him into a contest. He says, "Watch the cart. My kid's right here." That is not weakness. That is aim. The words are plain. No performance. No insult. No invitation to continue. Then he moves the cart a few feet away from the crush around the TV. The wheel still rattles. The crowd still shouts. The smell of floor wax and sweat still hangs under the lights. Nothing magical happens. The store does not become civilized because one man remembered himself. But his child's shoulders drop. That is the victory most people miss. The eye of the storm is not a place where noise disappears. It is the place where noise stops making your decisions. For this father, the shopping cart becomes more than a cart. At first, it was just something to push through a Black Friday crowd. Now it is the line he will not abandon. His hands on that handle are not about buying. They are about command. They are about staying connected to the duty in front of him when the crowd invites him to join the madness. Every man has a moment like this. Maybe not in a retail giant store at 5 a.m. Maybe not over a discounted TV. But somewhere, someone bumps the cart. Someone speaks carelessly. Someone takes the last thing. Someone pushes past your family, your patience, your pride. And suddenly the question is not whether you are angry. Of course you are angry. The question is whether anger can make you forget who is watching. Because the father is not only protecting his child from the crowd. He is protecting his child from the version of himself that the crowd is trying to awaken. That is the confrontation. Not man against man. Not customer against customer. Father against impulse. And in that fight, the first victory is invisible. The punch that never gets thrown, the insult that never leaves the mouth, the hand that stays on the shopping cart because it remembers what it is responsible for. Discipline does not begin after you feel calm. It begins in the first second you realize you are about to lose command. For the father in that aisle, training does not look like meditation on a cushion. It looks like a hand staying on a shopping cart when every nerve wants to become a fist. It looks like standing under fluorescent lights at 5 a.m., with the smell of floor wax and sweat in the air, while strangers pull at a TV box like the whole world has been reduced to one discount. The first practice is to stop before the body votes for violence. Not forever. Not for 10 minutes. 1 second. 1 second is enough to interrupt the old machinery. His shoulder wants to turn. His mouth wants to open. His hand wants to leave the cart handle. So he gives himself a command so small it cannot be argued with. Stay. He does not say it out loud. He says it inside his ribs. Stay with the cart. Stay with your kid. Stay with the truth of this moment. Not the insult. Not the crowd story. Not the fantasy of teaching some stranger a lesson. The truth: your child is beside you, and your first duty is not to win the aisle. It is to remain trustworthy inside it. The second practice is to name the heat without obeying it. Anger. That is all. Not I have to do something. Not he can't talk to me like that. Not everybody is against me. Just anger. The moment he names it cleanly, the emotion loses a little of its costume. It is no longer justice. It is no longer protection. It is heat in the body asking for command. He lets his breath drop once. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. Quiet enough that no one in the aisle notices. Real enough that his kid feels his body slow down. The third practice is to anchor the body in the present. His palm presses into the shopping cart handle. The metal is cool in some places, sticky in others from 100 hands before him. The front wheel rattles again, crooked and stubborn, and instead of letting the sound irritate him, he uses it. Rattle. Breathe. Rattle. Breathe. The cart becomes a boundary. The cart becomes a reminder. The cart becomes the line between the man he is training to be and the man the crowd is inviting him to become. His feet settle on the tile. He feels the weight move from his toes back into his heels. He lowers his shoulders. He checks where his child is standing. Not with panic. With precision. The child is close. The cart is between the child and the movement of the aisle. The exit path is left. Electronics is too crowded. The safest move is not forward. It is sideways. The fourth practice is to shrink the battle. A weak mind tries to solve the entire storm at once. It wants the crowd to calm down, the rude man to apologize, the store to become orderly, the sale to make sense, the morning to stop being embarrassing. But none of that is inside his hand. What is inside his hand? The cart. What is inside his voice? The next sentence. What is inside his command? The next 3 feet of space. So he does not try to become the judge of the whole store. He chooses one action: move his child out of the crush. That is enough. That is the blade edge of the moment. He turns the cart slightly, not as a retreat, but as a correction. He guides it away from the shouting over the TV, one slow push at a time. The crooked will fights him. Good. Let it fight. Training is not the absence of resistance. Training is refusing to let resistance choose your character. The fifth practice is to speak without feeding the fire. When he looks at the man who bumped the cart, he keeps his voice low. This matters. In social chaos, volume spreads faster than reason. A raised voice gives the crowd another spark. A controlled voice gives the moment less fuel. He does not insult. He does not threaten. He does not perform strength for the strangers watching. He says, "My kid's right here. Give us space." Plain words. Clear boundary. No drama. Then he turns his attention back to the child. That turn is discipline. Because the ego wants to keep staring. The ego wants to see if the other man respects him now. The ego wants proof. But a father under command does not need the room to confirm his worth. He already knows his assignment. Keep the child safe. Keep the mind clear. Keep the hand from becoming a weapon for a meaningless prize. The sixth practice is to make the child part of the ritual without making the child carry the fear. He bends slightly and says, "Stay close to the cart." Not frantic. Not sharp. He does not pour his adrenaline into the child's chest. He gives one calm instruction, something small and doable. The child's hand returns to the front bar. The father sees it. That small hand becomes another anchor. This is how discipline becomes visible. Not in a speech. In tone. In posture. In the way a man gives direction when his own body is still full of thunder. The seventh practice is to leave the false prize behind. This may be the hardest one. Because the mind hates feeling cheated. It hates the idea that someone else might get the TV, the deal, the little victory. It says, "You woke up early. You drove here in the dark. You stood in line. You deserve this." Maybe he does. But deserving something does not mean becoming unworthy of yourself to get it. So he lets the TV go. Not because money does not matter. Not because the discount is meaningless. For many families, a deal is not a game, it is part of making life work. But there is no price low enough to justify teaching a child that impulse outranks honor. The father pushes the cart toward a quieter aisle. Laundry detergent on one side. Paper towels on the other. Still bright. Still crowded. Still 5 a.m. But the pressure loosens by a few inches. He stops there. Not to hide. To reset. One breath. Check the child. Check the hands. Check the aisle. Choose the next right action. This becomes the ritual. When the wheel rattles, breathe. When the crowd shouts, lower the voice. When the hand tightens, press the cart handle and remember the child. When the ego asks for a fight, ask for space. When the discount tries to become an idol, let it stay on the shelf. That is Shugyo inside a retail giant store. Repetition under pressure. A small command practiced until the mind knows the path back. The father may still feel angry. His face may still be warm. His heart may still be beating hard. That is fine. Samurai discipline does not require him to become empty. It requires him to remain responsible while full of emotion. And by the time he reaches the end of that aisle, the shopping cart is no longer a simple piece of metal with a bad wheel. It is proof. His hand stayed. His voice lowered. His child stayed close. The storm did not get to choose his shape. The crowd does not become wise. That is the first thing to understand. No clean music rises over the speakers. No one in the electronics all suddenly remembers their manners. The discounted TV is still being dragged, argued over, guarded like treasure. A store employee is still trying to make his voice bigger than the noise. Somewhere behind the father, a cart clips a display of batteries and a few packs scatter across the tile. The storm remains a storm. But the father is no longer orbiting it. He has moved 3 aisles over, past laundry detergent and paper towels, into a strip of the store where the fluorescent lights still buzz but the air has a little more room in it. The smell of floor wax and sweat still follows him. His heartbeat is still louder than he wants it to be. His hand is still tight on the shopping cart handle. But something has changed. At the beginning, the cart was being pushed by pressure. Now it is being held by command. His child stands close to the front bar, looking back toward the noise. The father sees the question on that small face. Not spoken. Just there. Why are grown-ups acting like this? Why did that man shove us? Why did we leave? Did we lose? And this is where the transformation becomes real. Because the father wants to explain too much. He wants to make a speech about respect. He wants to say the other people are crazy. He wants to turn the morning into a lesson where he is clearly the good man and everyone else is beneath him. That, too, would be another kind of ego. Cleaner than a punch, maybe. More acceptable. But still ego. So he does not poison the child with contempt. He kneels slightly beside the cart and keeps his voice even. We're okay. We're giving people space. Simple. Not heroic. Not dramatic. But clean. The child nods, still watching the aisle they came from. The father places one hand on the cart and one hand near the child's shoulder, not gripping, not pulling, just present. The shopping cart stands between them and the rush of the store like a small piece of order on wheels. It cannot control the crowd. It cannot fix the morning. But it gives them a boundary. That is enough. Modern samurai discipline is built from moments like this. Not from pretending the world is peaceful. Not from acting superior to people who lose themselves under pressure. It is built from ordinary objects used with extraordinary awareness. A cart handle. A breath. A lowered voice. A decision to protect without escalating. A decision to leave behind a prize that was beginning to cost too much. The father looks down at his hands. They are not pure hands. They wanted to tighten. They wanted to prove. They wanted to become part of the force moving through the store. He knows that. And because he knows it, he can respect the danger without worshipping it. That is maturity. Not innocence. Command. The old version of the moment would have been loud. He can see it clearly. His body stepping forward. His voice cutting through the aisle. His kid frozen behind the cart while strangers turn to watch. The TV forgotten for a second because now there would be a new show. 2 men trying to win a contest nobody would respect by lunchtime. And later, in the car, maybe he would have called it protection. But his child would have remembered the tone. Children do not only learn from what adults say after the danger passes. They learn from the adult's face during the danger. They learn from the speed of the hands. They learn whether anger becomes the leader of the family. This morning, the father gives a different lesson. He turns the cart slowly into another aisle. The bad wheel rattles again. This time the sound does not irritate him. It steadies him. Earlier, that rattle sounded like the store itself mocking him, crooked, cheap, unstable, one more thing going wrong before sunrise. Now it sounds like a metronome. A small, imperfect rhythm. A reminder that calm does not require perfect conditions. Rattle. Breathe. Rattle. Breathe. He does not rush toward the checkout. He does not flee the store like he has been defeated. He walks with measured steps. He checks the end of each aisle before turning. He keeps the child on the inside, away from the main current of bodies. When someone cuts across their path, he stops the cart before contact. No glare. No muttered insult. Just a pause. The outside world is still moving fast. He is not. That contrast is the eye of the storm. A woman nearby snaps at her husband over a coupon. Two teenagers laugh too loudly by the toy section. A man in a hoodie walks past with a box TV balanced badly against his hip, guarding it like someone might steal his future. The father sees all of it, but he does not absorb all of it. He lets the noise stay where it belongs, outside his command. His child asks, "Are we still getting one?" The father looks toward the electronics section. The crowd there has tightened again. The answer costs him something small but real. Not because he needs the TV to feel like a man. Because he did wake up early. He did plan this. Money matters. Deals matter. Tired parents know that sometimes a discount is not a luxury, it is the difference between yes and not this year. But even then, the order remains clear. A deal can serve the family. It cannot rule the father. He says, "Not from that aisle." No bitterness. No performance. Just decision. Maybe they find another item. Maybe they leave with less than they came for. Maybe the child feels disappointed for a while. That is allowed. Discipline does not mean every feeling becomes pleasant. It means disappointment does not get to rewrite your values. They move toward the front of the store. The doors are far away, and morning light is beginning to press faintly against the glass. The parking lot outside is still dark blue, not fully day. Inside, the store remains bright and restless, a strange little arena built out of shelves, sale signs, and tired people trying to stretch their money further than it wants to go. The father glances down. His child's hand is on the front bar of the shopping cart again. Steady now. That is the part he will remember. Not the TV. Not the stranger. Not the insult. The small hand returning to the cart because the father made the cart feel safe again. In the beginning, it was just metal rattling through a crowd. In the middle, it became a boundary. Now, at the end, it becomes a quiet inheritance. A child may not understand Fedoshin. But a child understands this. When the room got loud, Dad got lower. When people pushed, Dad made space. When anger came, Dad did not hand at the wheel. That is how a family receives discipline without a lecture. The father is not transformed into some flawless man. He will get angry again. He will tighten his jaw in traffic. He will lose patience at home. He will have other mornings where the old heat rises before he is ready. But now he has proof inside his body. He has one memory of command under pressure. One morning where the storm invited him to throw a punch for a discount, and he kept his hand on the cart instead. That proof matters. Because character is not built by imagining the person you would like to be. It is built when the aisle is crowded, the lights are harsh, the air smells like sweat and floor wax, and your child is close enough to learn from your next move. The father pushes the cart toward the exit. The wheel rattles. He breathes. The storm keeps moving behind him. He does not belong to it anymore. A man becomes steady when the prize in front of him is no longer stronger than the duty beside him. Your storm may not be Black Friday. It may be traffic, a checkout line, a school hallway, a kitchen argument, a late shift, a bill you cannot ignore, or a moment when someone disrespects you in front of people you love. But the test is the same. There is always a shopping cart in your life, some small anchor that reminds you what you are responsible for. A handrail. A steering wheel. A child's backpack. A coffee cup before work. Something ordinary that asks you to return to command. The world will keep offering you cheap reasons to lose yourself. Do not accept them. When the room gets loud, lower your voice. When the crowd turns ugly, protect your space. When anger asks for the wheel, keep your hand steady. The storm can rage, but anger does not get to drive the cart.